Are there unseen chains that can imprison not just the body, but the soul itself? Let's explore the mysteries of restless spirits and those trapped in their own realities. Welcome to an exploration of one of the most intriguing and sometimes chilling aspects of human existence. A world where unseen forces shape destinies and hold us captive. We often think of prisons as physical structures, but what if there are prisons that can confine not the body, but something far more subtle and elusive, our soul or consciousness? That's the essence of the spiritual prison. It's not just a metaphor, it's a profound concept found in many cultures and philosophical systems, describing a state where a person's essence is locked down, restricted, or unable to move forward on their evolutionary path. Parallel to this is another phenomenon that has stirred the imagination since ancient times: restless spirits. According to belief, these entities have left the physical world, but for some reason were unable or unwilling to transition to the next realm of existence. They're stuck between worlds, continuing to interact with ours, often causing unexplained phenomena or sensations. From shamanic traditions to modern urban legends, stories of these souls are passed down, making us wonder about the boundaries of life and death, about what happens there, beyond the visible. Why are these concepts so enduring? Perhaps it's because they touch our deepest fears and hopes, offering explanations for what science cannot yet fully measure or disprove. We'll delve into these questions as informed commentators, aiming to understand their essence, drawing on historical, cultural, and philosophical aspects, without mystical pretension, but with due respect for ancient knowledge. What if the ideas of spiritual prisons and restless spirits aren't modern inventions, but echoes of ancient myths and religions that shaped our ideas about the afterlife long before us? Our notions about spiritual prisons and restless spirits didn't come from nowhere. Their roots run deep into ancient myths, religions, and folklore, where humanity first tried to make sense of the mysteries of life and death. Almost every culture has developed beliefs about the fate of the soul after leaving the body, and many included the idea of its imprisonment or being stuck. Consider ancient Egypt. The underworld, Duat, demanded souls face judgment. A soul whose heart was weighed down by sins could be devoured by Ammit, losing eternal peace, a form of ultimate imprisonment. In Greek mythology, the realm of Hades contained Tartarus, the deepest abyss and prison for titans and villains, where souls, like Sisyphus, were chained to eternal punishments. A vivid image of a spiritual prison. Slavic folklore describes unclean dead, souls of those who died unnatural deaths, suicides, drowning victims, who could not find peace and wandered the earth, influencing the living. This is a direct analogy to restless spirits. In Buddhism, samsara, the cycle of birth and death, is seen as a prison from which the soul seeks to escape to nirvana, freeing itself from attachments. These examples show the universality of the idea. The soul's journey after death isn't always easy. The reasons for imprisonment or being restless varied, from sins and violent death to strong earthly attachments, but the concept itself was widespread, forming the basis of our reflections today. No one will tell you that the scariest prisons have no walls. They exist in the mind, emotions, and karma, holding consciousness or the soul captive in an invisible but strong imprisonment. We often picture prisons as stone walls and bars, but the concept of a spiritual prison is much broader and, perhaps, much closer to each of us. It isn't always a physical place, but rather a state of consciousness or soul trapped. Let's break down what cages can hold us without visible boundaries. First, our mental traps. These are our own beliefs, fears, limiting mindsets that we've absorbed since childhood or formed ourselves. For example, someone convinced of their inability to succeed builds an invisible wall for themselves, hindering development. Their consciousness is locked in this paradigm, preventing them from seeing new opportunities and breaking out of habitual thinking. Then come emotional prisons. Unforgiven grievances, chronic anger, deep guilt, or unresolved grief can hold a person captive for years. These powerful, unresolved emotions become an anchor, preventing them from moving forward, living a full life. A soul burdened by this weight loses lightness and the ability to rejoice, as if bound by invisible chains. In Eastern philosophies, we encounter karmic traps. These are the consequences of our actions, thoughts, and intentions from past or present lives, which create certain conditions or recurring scenarios in life. The soul can be tied to a cycle of rebirths until it learns lessons or works off karmic debts. This isn't punishment, but rather learning, a path to balance. Finally, there are more literal, though less common, physical traps, where the soul or consciousness, according to belief, becomes attached to a place, object, or even a specific person due to severe trauma, an unfulfilled promise, or sudden death. All these forms of prisons have one thing in common. They deprive freedom and hinder natural movement and development. He left too soon, his affairs unfinished, and words unspoken. They say his spirit still roams the places he loved, finding no peace. Why can't some souls leave our world? We've talked about spiritual prisons, but now let's move on to restless spirits. Imagine, the soul has left the body, but for some reason couldn't move on. It's stuck between worlds, becoming a wanderer. Why does this happen? The main reason is unfinished business, unfulfilled promises, unspoken words, important obligations. A soul burdened by a sense of duty or regret remains attached to the earthly plane, seeking to complete what was started. A powerful factor is severe emotional trauma, unresolved grievances, anger, fear, or grief that charges the soul with energy, preventing it from resting. The soul gets stuck on the moment of trauma, reliving it, which prevents further progress. Attachments to earth are also important. Deep love for a place, people, material possessions, or life itself. Unwillingness to let go, fear of the unknown, or strong identification with earthly aspects can keep the soul from transitioning. It stays close to what it considered its own. Finally, sudden or violent death is often a cause of unrest. The shock of the abrupt transition, the lack of time to realize what happened, to say goodbye. All this disorients the soul. It may not realize it's dead and continue to exist in its usual reality, unaware of its new state. These souls often manifest as ghosts. Understanding these reasons helps to understand the phenomenon of restless spirits, not as mysticism, but as a consequence of deep human states and attachments. Remarkably, up to 75% of people in various surveys report experiencing unexplained sensations in bad places or strange events. Could these phenomena be a direct result of the influence of restless entities whose energies intersect with our world? Now that we've explored the reasons why souls may remain restless, a logical question arises. How can these entities or energies affect our living world? According to numerous beliefs and stories, their presence doesn't go unnoticed, and they are able to cross the boundaries of reality, interacting with us. First of all, the influence is felt in places. These can be old houses, historical sites, or even just plots of land where tragic events have occurred. People report unexplained cold, even when the heating is working properly, strange sounds, footsteps, whispers, creaks when no one is around. Sometimes small objects move, electronics turn on or off, and animals behave strangely, as if seeing something invisible to humans. These phenomena are often explained as residual energy or an energetic imprint of past events, as if the place remembered what happened. But the influence can be more personal, directly affecting people. Those who are sensitive to subtle energies may experience a sudden feeling of anxiety, unexplained melancholy, or even physical ailments while in certain places. This can manifest as a feeling of presence, a feeling of being watched, or even nightmares. Some teachings suggest that restless souls can attach to living people, causing mood swings, a decline in strength, or an exacerbation of negative character traits. From the perspective of an informed commentator, it's important to note that although science doesn't yet have definitive explanations for these phenomena, the very fact of their existence in the cultural consciousness and the subjective experience of people speaks to something more. We cannot ignore these intersections of realities, whether they are psychological projections or real energetic interactions. They remind us that the world is much more complex than it seems at first glance, and that the invisible boundaries between the living and the departed may be much thinner than we think. Imagine unseen chains fall away, and a tormented soul finally finds peace. What if there are ancient practices and wise approaches that can give freedom to those who are stuck between worlds? So we've explored the mysterious worlds of spiritual prisons and restless spirits. But what if we can not only understand, but also help? In many traditions, there are methods aimed at freeing both imprisoned minds and lost souls, offering a path to peace and freedom. For those who find themselves in a spiritual prison, mental, emotional, or karmic, the first step often lies through self-awareness. This can be psychological work, meditation, practices of forgiveness and acceptance. The goal is to break the chains of limiting beliefs, heal wounds, complete karmic cycles. In Buddhism, enlightenment is the exit from the prison of samsara, through the realization of the true nature of being. Spiritual practices like yoga help to cleanse the mind and emotions, releasing stuck energy. When it comes to restless spirits, approaches are more focused on ritual and outside assistance. In Christianity and Islam, prayers for the departed, memorial rites, help the deceased find their way. Many cultures hold farewell ceremonies. Shamanic traditions include rituals of escorting souls, where a guide helps the lost spirit. An important aspect is forgiveness, both on the part of the living and the soul itself. Sometimes an act of recognition and respect for the departed is enough for their energy to stop disturbing. The main idea of these practices is compassion and the desire to restore harmony. Humanity has always sought ways to bring order to the invisible world, bringing peace and freedom. Understanding these ancient methods not only broadens our horizons, but also gives hope that the deepest imprisonments can be overcome and restless souls will find their eternal home. We've only just lifted the veil of secrecy over the world of spiritual prisons and restless spirits. If you're ready to continue this fascinating journey into the unknown, explore deep questions of existence, and unravel the mysteries of the unseen, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Mysteries of the Spirit channel. New discoveries await us.